What's up? It's Ali Garced, or Ali the Agent, a realtor and business owner. I'm on a mission to show other agents that they too can run their realtor business as a business. Just a few weeks ago, in early May 2023, I attended Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, or RubeCon 2023, and it was the second ever iteration of it. I also attended last year's first ever iteration in 2022. Both this year and last year were in Phoenix, Arizona, but 2024 is going to be in a different spot, a different city and state. So stay tuned till the end of the video where I tell you where it is. First, what even is RubeCon? It's a conference for investors by investors. It has all level of investors, but a lot of them this year were on the newer side. I like that it's all about giving back. They say at the beginning of every RubeCon so far at orientation that everyone's goal shouldn't be to only find someone that's ahead of them and learn from them, but also to look at people a few steps behind them and help them. And I've never been to a conference that humbled people and focused so much on helping those behind you. So I really like that. So much so that after the first year in 2022, I reached out to the founder, Dustin Heiner, and I told him, hey, that I live in Tucson, which is just 2 hours from Phoenix, so I'd love to volunteer in any way that I can. He was like, yeah, sure, dude, we'll take your help.
How excited are you, Dustin? I'm so excited!
So I was a volunteer for this year's RubeCon. There were more attendees this year than last year. There were about like 400 this year, I believe, and it's still one of the smallest conferences that I go to, and I think that's what my favorite part is about this conference, because I love the FaceTime, the actual true FaceTime that you get with speakers, and that the speaker to attendee ratio is small. So you can literally hang out with the speakers that you've been admiring for a while, and you can actually become friends with them, unlike at other conferences that are just too big. This conference is for investors, and even though I am an investor, I've actually put my investing on a major pause over the last 2 years because majority of my residual income now comes from building my realtor team at no expense to the realtors on the crew. My residual income from having partnered with agents is close to $3,000 a month now, which is more than all of my rental properties combined. So if you're a realtor and you're interested in diving deeper into how to make residual income, comment below or find me on the gram, Ali the Agent, or schedule a call with me on my Calendly. The link is going to be below. But anyway, like with all conferences, we get a swag bag with a few books in it and discounts from the sponsors. I know exactly what was in each swag bag because I helped fill them all up, being that I was a volunteer. Here were 2 of the books that came with it, along with Dustin Heiner's book, How to Quit Your Job with Rental Properties. This workbook for RubeCon, where you could take notes on each speaker. On the inside, there's like a 50% off for the recordings in case you missed any of the breakout sessions, since a lot of the breakout sessions happen at the same time. So it was impossible to go to every single breakout session, as is normal with a lot of conferences. Also, the bags came with chocolates, and those chocolates were so good. Ask me how I know. How do I try to set myself up for success at conferences? I'm there to learn, to network, and look for talent, meaning looking for other realtors that maybe want to partner with us. I'm here to catch up with old friends and make new friends. I was not able to attend every breakout session. Nobody was, because I was volunteering, and of course the multiple breakout sessions happening at the same time. But here are my biggest takeaways that stuck with me, and I hope that they help you too. Adam Carroll was a keynote speaker. Adam is a best-selling author, in case you haven't heard of him, a TEDx speaker, the founder of the Shred Method, which is a way to shred your mortgages in months as opposed to decades. I personally started with this method, and I'm super excited about it. Since I had signed up and needed extra assistance on walking through like the calculator and the technical portion of the calculator online with my mortgages, I was able to meet up with Nick Durr. I now call him Tutor Nick because he helped me through my entire scenario. I literally brought my computer and I was like, hey Nick, I need some help. Can you help me? He was like, that's exactly why we're here. I've been a shredder for 2 months, and I've paid off my car, which had a loan of about $15,000, $12,000-ish left on it. So I paid that off, and I'm working on one of my mortgages, and I brought that down from $121,000 to a balance of currently $65,000. So I pretty much cut that mortgage in half. If you want more information about this or a discount on this, comment below or message me on Instagram, Ali the Agent. I became an affiliate because I'm so excited about this, and with that link that I'll give you, it'll give you a discount. The link will also be below if you want to just jump right into it instead of asking me any questions. Also, I should probably make a video on specifically how the Shred Method is working for me. So comment below if you think that I should. In Adam's keynote, he had the audience do some exercises, and one of those exercises was to fill in the blank. Start with the sentence, if I were 10% more bold, I would blank. I urge you to do that, like right now. I thought this was a good exercise because usually people will simply just make goals to achieve that at the end of the year instead of breaking it down to a tiny piece and say, if I were to just be a tiny bit more bold, what would I be doing? How would I act? How would I think? So this can go in a million different ways. And usually what you think of is something that you know you probably should be doing. If I were 10% more bold, I would be blank. Then he talked about the importance of utilizing a conference to position yourself for success right after the conference. He asked each of us to write down 2 things that we could do post-conference, post-RubeCon, because if you haven't been to many conferences before, they are such a hype, right? Like you're on a conference high and then you travel back home, and even though you said you were going to implement all these new things, you end up not implementing anything. Unless you're super strong and super, devoted, then good for you. But otherwise, this was a great way to almost take like a pause, a time out and think, okay, what do I need to do in order to maximize on this conference that I'm already here doing? My 2 things were to 1, add everyone to my CRM so I can continue having a relationship with them. That's how I'm able to organize myself and to talk to people genuinely. My second thing was to continue shredding my mortgage and pay off that one property that I was mentioning earlier. I want to pay that off in the next 6 months. Then activity number 3 that Adam Carroll had us do was to think about yourself in 2 scenarios. The first scenario, think 3 years back. 3 years back to today, what were you doing? Where were you? How were you feeling? What was your mindset like? So think about that for a second. And then think about 3 years from today. Where are you going to be? Fill in the blank with and the same questions. So starting to manifest the idea and vision of where you're going to be in 3 years gets your gears turning as to how you're going to get there. How can I get there? Then a quote that Adam said really stuck with me, and it stuck with somebody else too that I was talking to. And it was the following quote. And I urge you to write this down and tell your partner this. It's uncommunicated expectations are just pre-planned resentments. That was brilliant. I write down all of my inspiring quotes in the notes app on my iPhone. So as soon as he said it, I pulled out my phone. I had to type it in. Uncommunicated expectations are just pre-planned resentments. When I spoke to Adam later outside of his keynote speech, he said that he actually learned that from his grandparents because his grandparents would always say that. And I thought that was a great keynote, great advice overall, great exercises. Another awesome keynote speaker was Marlon Smith. Marlon is a public speaker who has spoken in 45 states, 18 countries, and is also a published author. My main takeaways from his keynotes were the following. 1, what is the worst that can happen? When you're faced with a decision to make, it's easy to get wrapped up in fear, not taking any action. Instead, think about it. What's the worst that can happen? Number 2, what will happen if I don't take action? That might shift your perspective and push you to make a decision, to follow your dreams. Ask yourself these questions every single night, these 3 questions. 1, what was great about today? Notice how I didn't say what was good about today, but what was great about today. It gets you thinking more positively, ending your day on a good note, which at the end, you feel grateful. Question number 2 to ask yourself every night is, what did I learn today? Because no matter how insignificant you feel like your day may have been or how unproductive, you learned something. It will also focus your days to learn something and always be improving so that at night, when you ask yourself that, you actually have made it a point to learn something throughout that day. And question number 3, what did I do today to move closer to fulfilling my dreams and goals? Every day you should be working toward fulfilling your dreams and your goals. So you have to put yourself first. I met Mike Cavagioni. I met Mike Cavagioni at RubeCon this year, and he is the host of Average Joe Finance's podcast, and I believe he said he's in like the top 1% of finance podcasts, which is amazing. So if you haven't already given him a follow, do so. The link will be in the description below. Mike is an awesome guy. He's so humble. He's down to earth. His breakout was on podcasting. He uses Asana as a CRM to remain in touch with the guests, which he thinks is very important. He uses Buzzsprout to find out the data of how his podcast is performing, and he uses Listen Notes to get percentages. He also gave a ton of other tools, and there was a lengthy Q&A session because a lot of people are interested and started their own podcast. Michael Kwan was also a speaker, and as he was last year too. If you don't know who he is an educator in the financial freedom space. He retired early at the age of 36 by having leveraged investments with equities and real estate, and he is the founder of Financially Alert, best-selling author of The FIRE Planner, a step-by-step workbook to reach your full financial potential. The link is below. This year, his breakout breakout was on how to implement AI into your business. And what's nice is whatever type of business you run, you can learn from this. I'll run you through a couple of the websites that I took personal notes on, what I found helpful. Number one, if you're a realtor, virtual staging, or if you're listing a property, virtualstagingai.app. That's where you can stage your listings virtually where it doesn't look corny like it used to back in the day. Another alternative to that is using interior AI. With interior AI, you can break down walls, you can like repurpose spaces. That'll be helpful if you're planning on doing renovations and you need to like visually see what the place is going to look like before you actually start doing the work. And of course, he touched on ChatGPT and he said you can straight up ask ChatGPT for 12, give me 12 business names, and they'll come up with some cool names if you're just starting an LLC or just starting a business and can't think of a good name yourself. If you need a logo because you're starting a new business, for just $100, you can go to looka.ai. I think that's how you pronounce it, but it'll be right here. If you have a website that you're driving traffic to and want to incorporate an AI chat that can help answer frequently answered questions as if it's like a real person, but without having to drive people to a certain page on your website that has the FAQs and make them read it, you can use durable.co/AI/website/builder. The link is going to be below. The fun fact is you can incorporate an AI chat box into Wix if you use Wix. Overall, he mentioned, how do you utilize AI like from a 30,000 foot view? It's to think of AI as empowering your speed of thought. You no longer need as long to think. You have AI doing the thinking for you, so you can get a lot of your time back. Also, if you use Notion, Notion has an AI chat in their platform where it can analyze lists for you and interpret data without having to copy and paste and paste it into ChatGPT and then say, hey, analyze this, look for whatever. And what I think is the most helpful tool that I've already been using is, when you have really bad pixely photos, or you took a photo and it was like slightly blurry, or maybe you were drunk, or whatever it is, now there is a way to restore those photos. So you can go to restorephotos.io or this other one, HitPaw, the link will be down below, and you can drop the photos in and the AI will restore the grainy, bad quality photo into what it thinks it's supposed to look like. And it does, I think, a really good job. The best part about that is you can restore up to 5 free photos a day. If you're not on the AI train yet, you need to start taking the time out to implement this into your business. Also, one of my favorites, one of my really good friends, Sunny Rao, she is one of my closest friends. Her and I were introduced to each other at another conference, Bigger Pockets conference, I believe, back in 2021 when it was at NOLA. We hit it off. We've been friends ever since. Conference roomies. I had the great pleasure of seeing her speak. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Her breakout was on house hacking. And if I were to title it myself, I would have called it House Hacking 2.0 because she took that breakout to the next level. Sunny is a straight up former tennis Olympian turned real estate investor. She used to live in Boston, but she felt like she couldn't get into real estate. And so therefore she moved to Indianapolis, where she still resides now, purchasing properties to move in, lives there, moves out, rents it out. She does short-term rentals. What I learned from her house hacking presentation was that you need to think outside of the box more. Everyone usually thinks of renting out the rooms of your home or buying a duplex and small multifamily, living in one unit, renting out the other units. But rarely do people think about the pool that they have in their backyard that they can rent out separately. You can rent out the extra space in a large lot with connections to RVs. Or if you don't have those options and you don't want a roommate and instead you have, an extra bedroom or an extra space somewhere, you can charge people to drop off their stuff and you can be a storage unit. Rent it out to friends or family members. You can do the same thing with your garage. There are a ton of ways to keep your living expenses low. Now, as I mentioned, I couldn't make it to all the speakers, but some of the other speakers included people like Brent Kessler from The Money Multiplier, Charles Rose from Master Passive Income, Felipe Mejia, who co-owns Rat Race to F5, Sarah Weaver, co-author of The 30-Day Stay, as well as the owner of Arya Design, who helps investors analyze and then furnish their properties and then launch their rentals nationwide. Then there was also Tom Sylvester, who is the co-host of the Lifestyle Builders podcast, and so many others. These speakers, plus like the 30 other speakers, spoke on various topics: how to achieve financial independence, or FI, the housing market forecast, multifamily taxes, investing in land, building systems and processes, subject tos, NFTs, wholesaling, all the things. Because there were so many more topics and a lot more speakers than there were last year, there was a whole nother day or day and a half added to this year's conference. So registration started at 7 a.m. on Thursday Thursday and went all the way to Saturday night at 10 p.m. That was the closing party. At least everyone had Sunday to travel back, get ready to start the week again on Monday. Also, what was cool about this year was that a third of the speakers were female, which I think is a great representation because you don't really see that too much at other conferences. On top of the speakers, there were also a bunch of sponsors that I learned from as well. So personally, I think the most useful one, the one that I needed in my life at this time, was the shred method. It's nice that I got that time, like literally one-on-one being tutored with my properties out, my calculator out. This literally is a photo of me bringing my computer, being like, hey, tutor Nick, I need your help. Can you help me? He was like, yeah. So I won't belabor that point, but another sponsor that I had never heard of that I think is a really cool app is called Backflip. Backflip is an app that you can use if you're driving around. You can take a photo of a property that you might think is distressed property. You can get the information, I'm pretty sure, like the phone number, tax information of that actual property for free. So therefore you can start calling or, mailing that seller to try to get a private deal. They make that portion free. I'd never heard of an app doing that stuff for free, but that's because they make their money on the lending side since they're also lenders. So how did RubeCon help me in my business? All in all, I made a ton of contacts. I put them all in my CRM. I strengthened relationships with my friends. I made new friends, and I connected with realtors from other areas. So now we've become referral partners. I was invited onto 2 podcasts, which could turn into more referrals later on down the road once it aired, or it could turn into agents reaching out to me who are feeling stuck in their business, stuck with their brokerage, wanting to have more branding, have more lead generation ideas, whatever it is. I was invited onto 2 quick Instagram videos there at the conference. I was helping build their brand. They were helping build my brand. And I met some investors who I thought would be a great fit for the podcast that I co-host called Investify with Craig Kurlop, because if you didn't know, I am the host of 2 podcasts. So I co-host Investify, that's focused on real estate investing, and another one that I host is on the newer side. It's called the Be More Show for Agents, where we interview badass realtors who are killing it in the business, and we ask them all of their secrets, like very tactical stuff, and we ask all guests to share either like a checklist, a script, anything that they do that makes them a killer. So check that one out too if you haven't already. I was also able to meet with one agent who was interested in partnering with us, as well as being introduced to someone else who knew of someone looking to get licensed. She might be joining our realtor crew as well. Another reason why I like how small this conference is because not only do you get a chance to develop stronger relationships at this conference between the attendees, but the speaker to attendee ratio is the best that I've ever seen. So out of the 40 speakers, or maybe like 44, I think in 2023, and 400 attendees at the most. So that's like a 10% ratio, right? With other conferences, it might be like 40 speakers, but the attendance is like 3,000 people. So you're pretty much just waiting in line to maybe take a photo with someone famous, and then like walk away. You don't really get good FaceTime with them, and your conversation isn't really of any sort of high value level. Another amazing opportunity that I got is that I'm going to be speaking myself next year. Next year, the conference is going to be not in Phoenix. It's going to be in St. Louis, because I guess a lot of the East Coasters were like, hey, this was a long way to travel. So it's going to be in the middle of the country. That way it's kind of like the same length of time from the East Coast to the West Coast to get to St. Louis. I'm thinking that the topic I'll speak on is from a realtor to realtor, as to like how to build a realtor business while also investing on the side, or it could be how to be an investor friendly agent. It's a variety of things. Actually, if you have any suggestions, would love to hear it. So all in all, as far as is it worth it financially, I would say just one referral alone as a realtor, which for me on average is about $3,500. That $3,500 would pay for the ticket 3 times over. So yes, in that aspect. That being said, I did drive, I'm really close. I live in Tucson at this time. If I had to fly to RubeCon, say $800 on flights, $600 a night on hotels for 4 nights, at that point, one referral would still be all I would need to at least break even. And if just one agent partners with us or joins our realtor crew and we help them grow their business, that could be like $3,000 a year every year if they sell properties. And if they're joining our crew, we literally have everything available. All they have to do is just implement. So yes, I think it's worth it. And if I were to only have my investor cap on, then yes, I do still think it's worth it, because you can make the connections to someone working in multifamily, that if that's what you want to get into, or purchasing land. The connections that you'll make, as long as you continue to strengthen over time, it will pay off. So all in all, Is it worth it? Yes, it's worth it, but only if you apply yourself. You have to go to a conference with a game plan in mind and then actually stick to it after the conference ends. I do have to give major props to Caitlin Lighters, who was the event coordinator for RubeCon, and there was so much work that she did to make everything happen. So Caitlin Lighters, you are a hero. And of course, the other speakers, the other volunteers, thank you everyone. Thank you Dustin Heiner for putting this together, for making this happen and delivering value. I am super excited to speak at next year's conference. If you enjoyed this video, I know you're going to enjoy these videos, so stay tuned for an upcoming video of mine where I explain how I best take advantage of every conference that I go to and how you can as well. Till next time.